welcome to the Gaming Coop, the best space to talk about the funny memes. Let's introduce today's players. Player 1, who are these hip-hoppers, and why are they called Four Town if there are 5 of them? It's Anthony.
That's damn right.
Player 2 is Dumbledore as played by Miranda Cosgrove. It's Gabe.
What? What does he mean?
Player 3 is Dragonborn to be Wild. It's Kelsey.
Oh, I love that.
Player 4 will gladly babysit your pet lion. It's Matt.
Hey.
While some of us may be biased, Player 5 is without question T-rific. Every month he works his butt off to create this pod. He deserves a break, maybe a trip somewhere green, perhaps down the Gulf Coast. That is to say, not all men are created eagle. Also, something about lots and lots of balls. It's Chris. And Player 6. It's Walsh.
That was it? Wow.
In other words, insert Lego Yoda death sound effect.
Oh, amazing.
I'll give my performance a 2 out of 10. A 2 out of 10. I at least tried.
I give it a 2 out of 1.
Okay. Welcome everyone. This is the Gaming Coop. And guess what? For the first time in 2022, we have a full house. We're all here.
Hooray. We're all here.
Everyone is here.
We all got our shit together for 1 month.
We're Smash Bros. Ultimate on this blessed day.
Yeah. And this is a great episode to have everyone here because we're going to talk about the funniest fucking games we've ever played in our lives. At least among them.
Among them.
And, among us.
No. Low-hanging fruit, guys. We're better than that.
They announced that VR game, by the way. That is going to scare the shit out of me if that ever happened. Anyways. By the time you see this, most likely, the new Stanley Parable game would be out. Ultra Deluxe, which is a remake of the original Stanley Parable game. And this is relevant because Anthony is going to talk about the weirdness, the mystery that surrounds the Stanley Parable. Anthony, kick it into you.
Sure. So Stanley Parable is one of my favorite games. It is mysterious. It is funny, which is good because I'm talking about it on this pod. It kind of like, if I had to put it in one sentence, the Stanley Parable makes a mystery out of the mundane. You play as Stanley, and you're an office worker who one day all of a sudden realizes that he hasn't received any work in an hour, which is already pretty far-fetched for a lot of us, and he goes out to find that all of his coworkers have vanished. And there's a narrator who you start to realize is telling you what you're doing before it happens, and you have the ability to disregard him and do what you want instead. For example, he'll say Stanley enters the door on his left. And if you enter the door on your right, the narrator will be like, Stanley didn't realize he walked through the door on the right, and that is why he continued down the hallway and turned left. And the game is kind of an evolution on that concept, this dissonance between you and the narrator. And it wouldn't work if the narrator did not have so much emotion and inflection, and if the writing wasn't so sharp and funny. For example, and I'm really not going to go into detail about a lot of the things that you see in the game, because the charm of the game is ruined if you know too much about it. But for example, I went into a broom closet, and the narrator is like, I didn't mention that you walked past the broom closet because the broom closet obviously has no significance whatsoever. You can come out of the broom closet whenever you're ready to resume the game. And then he starts speaking louder, and he's like, whoever is nearby, the player who has entered the broom closet, please check, as I believe they're no longer alive. And they do not understand the concept of a first-person video game. And it's just so full of these funny little moments where I am such a little shit. Like, if a game tells me to do something, usually I will do whatever I can to absolutely destroy it, to not listen, to question authority, and to fuck up whatever I can. The Stanley Parable is a game made for people like me, because the narrator will beg, he'll plead, he'll get angry, he'll get sad, he'll find humor in it. He brings so much emotion. Sometimes he talks to you as if you're an idiot. Other times, he promises you something so special if you just listen to him. Just this once, he's on your side. He wants what's best for you. And other times, he wants to kill you. It is so full of emotion and humor and wit. And the best thing is, every time you start right back and you get to see what new decisions you can make and what the narrator says. At one point, I had gotten so used to the flow of one of the paths that there was an element that I could speedrun. And the narrator called me out for it. He's like, Stanley just happened to be pressing random buttons on the wall and entered the exact combination that he needed. Isn't that so funny? And I was like, oh my god, they so routinely break the fourth wall and build it back that it might as well not exist, but it does. It is such an incredible narrative experience. And one of my favorite details is that there are little tiny things that are randomized each time you play. And sometimes they don't mean anything. You'll go out and there will be a mess of paper scattered all over the floor. Sometimes the office room outside will be blue. And sometimes there's a new major story element that gets introduced just for one randomized run that totally changes everything. And there's new in-depth dialogue and new choices that you make. And it is incredible. The achievements are funny. There's one achievement that I had to break, and I was so mad. There's an achievement for not playing the game for 5 years, and it's called Go Outside.
And touch grass.
Touch grass. And literally, last night I was like, you know what? I gotta experience the Stanley Parable one more time before I talk about it. I had 4 years and 1 week on that achievement done already. And I'm like, if I play it for tomorrow's Coop, I'm going to break my streak, and I'm going to have to wait another 5 years. But it's like, you know what? I can't. I got to do it. I got to play the game again, just a little bit, to get ready for tomorrow. And I did. And that's okay, because they have a new version of the game coming out. The game was originally a free mod, like a source mod. And then they made a standalone version of it that they charged money for and really built awesomely on it. And they have a new version coming out in exactly a week. And they said, we're not going to tell you a lot about what's in it, because that would ruin the surprise and the fun and the point of the game. But the script of new stuff that we've added is bigger than the script for the original game. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to see. They've spent so long on this, and they have proved themselves to be such a capable, fun, witty team that I cannot wait to go right back into it and see what's new.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games, ever. It's so good. It is such a... it takes the concept of choice in a video game and just turns it on its head, where every single ending that you get, because this game is about the endings. Where do you end up at the end of your route that you take? And every single time it is a wonderful, weird, sometimes border on like psychological horror experiences.
Oh yeah.
And it's incredibly charming. The narrator makes the game. He does such a good job, and I'm so happy that he's coming back to reprise his role, because I think it is so crucial to the gameplay of that whole thing, or at least the story of it. It's just such an absurd game, and I really do wonder, how are they going to build on it? How are they going to end up expanding on the office that you're in? How are they going to like point out different routes to you? But ultimately, what's great is that it's a game about exploring, and you just explore and you find different ways to mess with the narrator and mess with the game, and see if there's something else that can another way that you can experience it all. It's so freaking good. And this, I know that this was originally, it was developed by two people. One of the people are no longer on the project because they opened up another indie studio, but the other one ended up forming their own indie studio called Crows, and that's the studio that's essentially making this game right now. And I'm glad that at least you have one person that was involved in the original game being part of this remake, because I think that's it's nice to have that original vision there, and then just to see that expansion. So it's gonna be great. I really I would say at this point, if you want to play it, wait until Ultra Deluxe comes out. By the time people who are listening to it, I obviously that's the obvious, but even the people here who might want to experience it, wait till Ultra Deluxe comes out. Unless it's bad, then I guess they'll just play the original. But I doubt they will fuck it up that bad.
It is. I have such high hopes for it, and I have nothing but faith for them. The consistent vision and improvement that they've had on the game over the course of probably a decade at this point just borders on nothing short of impressive. I shared some screenshots in the chat. The game has a lot of funny details where if you're somebody like me and you like to slow down and for example, there's a meeting room and it has a PowerPoint slideshow, and each slide is funnier than the last. It just has so many little funny environmental things that if they catch your attention, you're like, huh.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yes, cannot recommend it enough. It is so incredible. It's funny, but it's also just such an experience.
I think around when it came out, I was a broke college student, so the way that I experienced it was through watching Chris play it.
Yes. I have a Let's Play on my channel, if anyone wants to watch it.
So that was extremely entertaining. And I also, I think these same people made a free game that's also very good called Dr. Langus, called The Tiger and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, which, again, dude, should not spoil anything about that, but it's very short, so it's a good, it whets your appetite for what the Stanley Parable can be about.
Yeah, if people are really excited for it, then absolutely play that as a way to get you ready for Stanley Parable, because that is another really, really good game that they put out, for sure. Anthony, I'm gonna ask you this, but obviously we're gonna try to avoid spoilers. What is your favorite ending?
So, my favorite ending,
even if you just have the name for it.
So I do not have the name, but it's the ending where you end up seeing behind the scenes.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think for me, my favorite is the game's ending. And I won't go too much into it, but it involves a baby and a dog at some point.
That is my favorite. Yes.
So that is my favorite. It's absurd. If you're looking for a story that makes any sort of sense, this is not the game for you. But I think it does a good job telling a story if you're going to follow the path of the narrator. It tells a decent story that way. But then it goes into the absurd. If you just like absurd, funny shit, like this is the game for you. So
I don't really know much at all about the Stanley Parable. I've played a little bit of it, but it was never like a game for me. But something that I thought was interesting is yesterday when Anthony logged in for the first time and he went to show me, not the first time in a long time, but he went to show me what, he took like a screenshot of I guess what would be the banner on Steam it was, but and it showed like last played April 2018 or whatever. But what I thought was interesting, I think it was on that same screen, or maybe I don't know. But at one point, there was like a crawler along the bottom that said, "The end is something." Anthony,
the end is never.
The end is never. The end is never. The end is never. That's what it said over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was like, so it's a looped sentence, right? But it perfectly fit within where it said that the game was loading. So at one point it says the end is loading. And I thought that was such...
I love that.
Yeah. So, like,
yes.
That was so cool to see, just knowing the general concept and the fact that they thought out a detail as simple as how they are going to craft that in order to just slide that in. And you could have missed it or not thought anything of it. But to me, I thought it was such a cool little detail that just goes to show you the deep mindfulness that goes into a game like this, where the humor is so intelligent that it's not just like not to play off or delegitimize like slapstick humor games. Like that's completely a legitimate category, and I love stuff like that too. But there's something that's really refreshing and fulfilling about a game that is just as brilliant as it is funny. And I feel like even not having a lot of experience with the Stanley Parable, I feel like that is the category it fits into.
1000%. I'm looking at some of the Steam achievements right now, and one of them is also called Commitment, where it is play the Stanley Parable for the entire duration of a Tuesday.
Does that mean midnight to midnight?
I'm guessing, yeah.
The entire duration of a Tuesday.
And not to like spoil all of the achievements, but this is my favorite one. It's called You Can't Jump. No, seriously, you disabled it. You get it when you press the spacebar.
Yeah. It's so good. It's fantastic. But anyone else have thoughts on the Stanley Parable?
I wonder if they're going to have an achievement list on the console ports, or like at least on the Switch.
The Switch, I'm not sure. I would imagine PlayStation would. I'm imagining Xbox would. Nintendo's just behind on that whole achievement thing. But there's some games that have made up for that. Like I think Toem was an indie game that I played where that had its own like in-game achievement list. So maybe Stanley Parable would just the same thing. So who knows? But yeah, that is Stanley Parable. Let us move on to a game that its story may not be as humorous, but the writing is fucking fantastic. It's Deltarune, as told by Gabe.
Alright, so at this point, I feel like Deltarune needs no introduction.
It's the first time we're talking about it on this show, though, believe it or not.
Deltarune is another indie game developed by Toby Fox, and with the whole team, and Tammy Chang is back for the art. It's considered like a brother or like a sibling to Undertale in terms of like the humor and writing style and the graphics. However, it ups the ante in a lot of ways, even like mundane stuff like the overworld sprites having actual animation instead of just a few frames. But the game's humor is sublime. It's just absurdist meme energy the entire time, and that honestly covers my whole sense of humor, which is very saddening. But I still find the game hilarious. Like there are just so many meme potential things inside the game that have already become memes ever since Chapter 2 came out in late October, was it, of last year?
Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
And it was amazing. One of my favorites being Chris get the banana potassium. And it's just small things like that are really humorous, and they're just so funny. Deltarune as a whole, like with the 2 chapters that we have, I definitely think the humor is a little bit better in chapter 2, mainly because of the characters that are introduced. Like the Queen or Spamton, G Spamton.
Yeah. Be a big shot.
Be a big shot, you know? If you know, you know. But,
yeah.
It's just like...
can't... Oh, go ahead.
No,
Keep going.
it's just a lot of the little details that are also hidden in the game.
Yeah. It's really good. What were we going to say, Matt?
So, I don't think there's in terms of pure humor, I don't think there's a better character than Rules Card.
Yeah.
Spelled ROUXLSKARD.
It's
Rules Card.
KAARD.
I thought I said that, but maybe not. KAARD.
Yeah.
And he's just like, think of like all the ye old English spelling. That's him. And there's one part where he comes up to you in a pirate ship and he says, "Chips ahoyeth, landlubbers."
When I first saw that, I was like, how did he get away with this?
It's so good. I really think
So
it's like... Okay, was someone about to talk?
No, I was just agreeing. It's
Yeah.
ridiculously funny. Like, it is really interesting because it throws so many jokes at you, whether it be through dialogue, through visual humor, through so many different gags, that you forget. You become so quickly attached to the characters almost through a lot of the humor alone. I mean, it does have a lot of heart as well, but the humor is just makes it so easy for people to attach themselves to it.
Yeah, I do think it's his best work writing wise. Like, I think he's just coming into his own, Toby Fox, in terms of his writing, and just coming like Undertale will forever be for me like just such a fucking powerhouse of a game. But I really think that when this project ends up being finished, however long it ends up taking, like I think this is gonna end up being his best work just on the writing alone. Just because I feel like he is doing such a good job developing characters, but also just giving them so much life through the humor. And as many gags as there are, you still can't help but fall in love with the world and fall in love with the characters. I don't want to go too deep into it because I know Anthony still is going to be holding off from playing it until the whole game comes out, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone else who has not really wanted to get into it, but it is, like, I think both arcs do such a good job of keeping that humor consistent throughout, even if things get into a little bit darker territory as Toby Fox games tend to go, it seems like. Yeah. And it's so impressive. And again, like, this is a genre that I am not super into usually. These are not the type of games that I like, but the writing is definitely what keeps me going, and the music. But the writing is absolutely something that keeps me going, because it's just he just does such a good job with that. But if you are itching to play it, play the first 2 chapters now. They are available on Steam, I believe, and on other platforms, I think. There you go. All right, it is time now to go to narrow our scope a little bit, because we talked about games that are very funny, but now we're going to talk about a single character that makes a game that is otherwise rather serious very funny. And it's what I'm calling Skyrim, the Cicero Chronicles. Kelsey, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I'm coming to the table. I'm coming to the coop a little bit more tired than I would have liked. So I apologize if I
You're
wanted
doing
to
your
bring
best.
more energy. Thank you. saying that.
You're doing your best, and that's what matters.
Yeah, thank you. So I've spoken about Skyrim before. If you know me in real life, it's at least, every 7th conversation you have with me probably has some sort of Skyrim reference. I was brand new to Elder Scrolls when playing Skyrim for the first time, and I also didn't get into Skyrim immediately when it came out either. I think my first serious run through was somewhere in the 2013, 2014, so a couple of years after it came out. But it was I think it was the first game that I completed to the extent that one can say that they've completed a run of Skyrim, because there's so much that, I hit all the main things and I felt satisfied. In my career as a gamer, it was the thing that, grabbed my attention, sucked me in the most. And my favorite... It's hard for me to pick, what exact favorite storyline I have, because it can change every day. But one of the best storylines in the game, one of the main storylines in the game, is the Dark Brotherhood. Oh, my mic just fell over. Sorry, interference. Sorry, there's a plane going by. Is the Dark Brotherhood storyline, which is a quick run through. It is a guild of assassins where you can either choose to join the guild or you can avoid the guild, essentially, as is your choice throughout the game. But personally, you are missing out on an entire wonderful experience if you choose to skip it. But before you even get to the Dark Brotherhood quest lines, there is Cicero. And you either can, by chance, come across Cicero, or you will meet Cicero eventually. He is a main component to the storylines. And here is Cicero. And Cicero is a assassin who is a jester. And he is the biggest fucking clown in Skyrim as far as I'm concerned. But one of the best characters in the entire game, if not possibly the best character in the entire game. I am obsessed with Cicero. I walk around in my condo and just will make Cicero sounds because he's very unique. He has very unique dialogue and very unique voice. He's a very small Imperial who was started as an assassin in the Dark Brotherhood many moons ago. And essentially his backstory is that he was just a regular assassin. He was not always a jester. He signed up with the guild at a young age, and he was a very good assassin, but nothing exceptionally remarkable. Shit went down that I'm not going to get into for length purposes, and this is preceding the events of of Skyrim, when Skyrim happens, about 40 years prior to Skyrim in the Elder Scrolls universe. The Night Mother is essentially a corpse of considered to be the bride of Sithis, who is like the god of death in Skyrim lore. And she's referred to as the unholy matron or the Night Mother, and she's worshipped by the Dark Brotherhood. When you perform the Black Sacrament, which is a prayer that people could do to seek an assassin, you pray to the Night Mother. There's also somebody who is assigned as the Night Mother's keeper, and you are responsible for caring for the Night Mother's body and casket. And so Cicero, while shit was going down in the Dark Brotherhood, became the person that was assigned as the keeper. The problem is, when you are assigned the keeper, you are no longer allowed to take assassination contracts. So he was assigned a final assassination contract before becoming the Night Mother's keeper. His contract was to kill a jester. And the lore is that upon his going to do his final kill of the jester, that killing the jester broke his mind. It drove him to insanity. Pursuing the jester and ultimately slaying the jester made him have a break with reality, where he ultimately ends up reconciling the fact that he can no longer be an assassin, has to be the keeper of the Night Mother, becomes obsessed with the fact that he killed the jester, where he ends up assuming the personality of the jester, and that is the Cicero that you come to know in the game. In Skyrim itself, there are 4 or 5 volumes of Cicero's journals that you have 2 people who play Skyrim. You have the people who actually enjoy reading the books in the game, and then you have the people that pick them up and check for skill points and just keep flying through the game. Like, nobody actually gives a shit. So if you actually take the time to read the books, you would get this lore in the game. I'm laughing at that. I think Christopher's laughing at that too, because Christopher was the, oh my god, can I play Skyrim any faster? Speed run, to the point where Anthony and I had to have an intervention where we told him to fucking slow down because he was stressing himself out over trying to finish Skyrim as fast as possible.
Chris was like any % world record.
To be fair, it was not the best choice of game to have you start after you played 100 games in a year.
Yeah.
It's
not the best.
Yeah,
not the best.
It's a game that pretty much you choose your momentum, and Christopher broke, essentially, and we had to...
I became the jester.
Yeah, and we had to put it back together.
You are the Joker.
Yeah, exactly. So, but in the game, you have the volumes of Cicero's journal, and they are dated preceding the events of Skyrim, where you essentially read volumes 1 and 2, and then in volume 3, he starts referring to the fact that the Night Mother gives him this contract of killing the Jester, and one of the lines in the journal is, "The Jester lies dead. My final contract has been completed. Oh, how he laughed and laughed until he didn't." And then at the end of that volume, you see, is part of him, like, having to reconcile the fact that he's no longer an active assassin. And he says, "So long since I have worked my blade, so long since I have saved a soul, but I am now keeper, no longer a taker. I think back fondly on my hours with the Jester, his laughter, his screams, his pitiful cries, and then as the end drew near, his laughter once more. Merry in death as well in life. I was honored to know him." So you really are like, I promise this is going to get funny, guys. I promise this will be funny.
It's support context.
Yeah. So then volume 4, you start seeing that his insanity is slipping. And at one point, an entry is laughing, 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 laughing. "It is the Jester, a voice from the void, to cheer poor Cicero. I accept your gift, dearest Night Mother. Thank you for my laughter. Thank you for my friend." And so you start to see the blending of who Cicero's character was with his assimilation into being the Jester that we know. And the final take that refers to the Jester in volume 4 before his last volume is, "Cicero is dead, Cicero is born. The laughter has filled me so very completely. I am the laughter, I am the Jester." And he essentially then says, "It is me, the world has seen the last of Cicero the man. Behold, Cicero, full of hearts, laughter incarnate." And like that is literally who he thinks he is throughout the rest of the game. So there's different ways that you can first approach Cicero, but he speaks in riddles and has this incredible voice that
so good.
Is so good. And like my 2 favorite things, I will literally walk around my house doing this, and I actually yelled at Anthony. I got in his face before we did this podcast, and I was like, "You will not take Cicero's impressions away from me. You will shut the fuck up. You will not be Cicero before I am Cicero." But then I come to the table exhausted, so this is not going to be very good. But my 2 favorite quotes from Cicero that I just have committed to memory are, oh my god, I'm blanking all of a sudden.
One's not the listener. You're not the listener.
Oh no,
right?
So he's bouncing back and forth so in the game, so there's the keeper of the Night Mother, and then you are the listener. The listener of the Night Mother is somebody who the Night Mother directly speaks to and provides contracts to from beyond, from the depths of dark hell, wherever her soul is existing. She speaks to you through her corpse. It's a dark part of the game, but it's done with humor, sort of. Again, I'm getting there. But when he finds out, he thinks that he's supposed to be the listener, and then he literally has a breakdown because he realizes that he's not the listener. But then when he finds out that you are the listener, he goes, "You are the listener, you are the listener," and he starts jumping around and doing that over and over again. And then another one is that they take contracts for money. So he just goes, "Shiny, clinky gold." And it's just the way his voice is incredible. And he just...
Andy Morris is his name,
and he just serves as this, like, absolutely absurd, ridiculous person. And you have controlled exposure to him through the Dark Brotherhood questline. Skyrim's been out for over 10 years now, so I'm not really worried about spoilers. Essentially, you work your way through the storyline, and at the end of the storyline, you can either choose to assassinate Cicero or keep Cicero alive. If you choose to keep Cicero alive, he can become a companion. I have not had the pleasure of actually taking Cicero as a companion because I've always done particular people that I was familiar with. But now, the next time I'm playing this, I am 1,000% after reading some of this, taking Cicero. But essentially, he's actually also one of the best built characters in the game to be a companion. He's incredibly skilled. He's like 100 archery, 100 stabbing, like, obviously, but he's very well built as far as the character is concerned, and he's very respectful of the Dragonborn because you're literally the fucking listener, and that's very important to him. But, like, I looked up some of his quotes when he's a follower, and some of the things that he says is like, in another part of the game, there's another murderer named the Butcher that's a part of a different storyline, and one of his quotes is he goes, "Oh, Cicero's heard of the Butcher? Interesting knife work. Just stab, 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 stab. And then stab, 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 stab." And it's just like the intensity. And then at one point, this is one of my favorites, is he goes, "Ho, ho, ho, and he, break that lute across my knee, and if the bard should choose to fight, why then I'll set his clothes alight." And he just fucking walks around saying shit like this, and it is just, it is fantastic. It is just my favorite. He'll be like, "Crazy? Cicero? That's madness." And then just like walks away, and you're like, holy shit, this guy's fucking literally crazy, but it's the best kind. So I don't know, he just makes me happy. I don't know if I did a good job at portraying how funny this guy really is, but it really is this perfect mix of complete chaotic darkness and murder and like very much macabre wicked lore mixed with this guy who is just unhinged in the best possible way. So and he literally dressed like a jester and hops around and jingles while killing people. So, I don't know.
Jingles.
He literally jingles. He's got like little bells on his hat, and he claps. He'll bounce back and forth and then clap, while the people in the sanctuary, the other people in the Dark Brotherhood, when he shows up, are like he's so on their last fucking nerve that they are just like, "You need to shut up." And he's like, "Okay, whatever you say, you're the boss." And he's like clapping around them, and it's just like, it is such chaos, but it's
delightful, though.
It's so good, and there are people who either absolutely cannot stand Cicero and think that he's really fucking annoying, and then there are the people who love Cicero. I do not think that there's a gray area. I think this is a very polarizing character, but from my understanding, he's quite beloved. I think there are some people that just think it's ridiculous and can't stand him anyway, but those people are no fun and probably libertarians.
They probably joined Stormcloak.
Right, yeah, they're probably like, yes, exactly. Stormcloak, like, they're probably, yeah. So, anyway, that's my hot take, but Anthony's allowed to do Cicero impressions now if he wants to.
You are the listener, you are the listener!
Doesn't even come up with another one.
And, like, every NPC in Skyrim is pretty, like, wooden and stiff, which is fine, because the game came out, like, a decade and change ago. But Cicero will literally intersperse his voice lines with dancing.
Yes.
And nobody ever reacts to it. And it's just... it's incredible. One of my personal favorite Cicero stories is Cicero viewed through the lens of a poor farmer.
Oh my god, wait, I was just gonna talk about this. Are you talking
Please go ahead.
Are you talking about Laureus?
Yes.
Okay. So please interject, though, if you, like, have something that I wasn't gonna cover. I was gonna cover the options that you have in handling the Laureus versus...
Yeah.
Okay, alright, cool. So,
go ahead.
So one of the ways that you can come across Cicero in the game is literally from the start of the game. After you get through the initial portion that they force you through, you are free to run into any corner of Skyrim, do whatever the fuck you want. But towards the beginning portion of the game, if you're running, you come across a town called Whiterun, and there's a lot of farms on the outskirts. And if you head due north, you eventually are coming across this farm where you notice that there's something in the road, and it's this jester standing next to a cart that's a horse-driven cart with a broken wheel, and there's a coffin in the back of the cart. And you try to talk to this little man, and if this is the first time that you're discussing with him, he's quite literally talking in riddles around you. Essentially tells you that he's trying to cart the body of his dead mother somewhere else, but his wheel broke. And he's tried to ask the farmer nearby to help him with fixing his wheel, but the guy's refusing because he thinks he's weird. And that's fair. That's honestly fair. Like, I'm not saying that Ventus Laureus is wrong, but, you know, whatever. So, your options are, at that point, after talking to Cicero, you can go try to convince Ventus Laureus to just fix the guy's wheel so he can move on. When you go up to Ventus, he's like, that guy's fucking weird. I don't want to help him fix his wheel. But here, how about we do this? Why don't you go tell that guard that's nearby that he committed a crime and let's get him locked up, and then he's just out of everybody's hair. And so then you have the option to either continue to persuade Ventus Laureus to fix the wheel or do that. If you decide to convince Ventus to fix the wheel, he begrudgingly does so. Cicero moves on. Cicero, I think, gives you some coin. Ventus says to you, if you want to convince the guard that he committed a crime, I will pay you coin. So you also have that option. So I've never
Who would do that option, though?
I've never done that option.
It's really cruel. That's very, very cruel.
Right, but if you think that Cicero is really annoying and fucking weird, the fact that he's carting a corpse across Skyrim, which he says is just his mother, it turns out later it literally is the Night Mother in the cart, but anyway, you probably figured that out. But, if you do that, if you go to the guard and you're like, I don't even know what crime it is that they tell you that he committed, but he will get arrested and he will get carted away. And then it's just done. And if you come by a little while later, the cart's just gone. But if you let a few days pass and then come through, you get your coin from Ventus Laureus. But if you come back a few days later and you walk by the same thing, all of a sudden you'll see smoke. And you will look, and there is a guard posted outside the farm, and the farm is burnt to the ground. And just the house is standing. And when you go to approach, the guard will stop you and say, you don't want to go in there. The owner, the farmer, and his wife were murdered in the middle of the night the other night, and their farm was burnt down. So there's nothing to see here, keep moving. If you break into the farm, you will literally, I think he says something like, so much stabbing. and then if you actually break into the house, it is a fucking bloodbath, and Ventus Laureus and his wife are just dead on the ground. So you are led to believe, and it's a direct draw, that Cicero must have broken out of prison, and then immediately for revenge went and murdered Ventus Laureus and his wife. But you will only unlock that event if you go that route. I've never personally done it. I just found out about it. Was that what you were going to say, Anthony?
I was going to cover, when you speak to the farmer initially, you're like, hey, is everything okay? And the farmer's like, is everything okay? Is everything okay? Have you not seen the demented little jester standing outside my house? And he's like, he's literally asked me 5 times to fix his wagon wheel. Can you get rid of him, please? And I think it's so funny that Cicero is just like this little chaotic entity in everyone's lives. But, yeah, I actually had no idea what happened if you helped the farmer.
Yeah, he gets murdered. Yep.
That's such a good little detail.
Yeah, which like is not, it's not that's not a huge left hook. Like, that's,
it's not surprising.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Surprising,
like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know. I just that's my spiel on Cicero, because that's not even it is just scratching the surface of Cicero's involvement with the entirety of the thing. And something I didn't know, just to plug, is that apparently in Elder Scrolls, what's the mobile game? Legend?
There's a few. There's Legends, which is the card game.
Yes,
and Blades.
I think it's Legends. Apparently, there was a listener that was around prior to the events of Skyrim. They go into like deep lore and fill out a lot of lore about the other people Cicero have dealt with in the Dark Brotherhood. I think when he was in Cyrodiil. But apparently there's like, we only get so much lore in Skyrim, but now the mobile games have filled out a lot more of that, which I don't play the mobile games because why would I? But like,
it's really interesting. I think the Dark Brotherhood was definitely my favorite storyline in Skyrim, and it was a lot of it was because of Cicero, because I loved the chaotic energy of Cicero, and I just think it's like it was nice to have some levity in the game overall, and I just felt like out of all the things that happened in Skyrim and all different storylines, it was the storyline I had the most fun with, because of the fact that it wasn't as serious as everything else. It was just pure chaotic fun, was the Dark Brotherhood storyline, and I think that's what I really, really appreciated on that front. We do have to keep going, but does anyone have any quick thoughts on Cicero?
Yeah, I just want to feed one last little Cicero nugget. In Skyrim, you can tell companions, like, let me look at your inventory, let me give you some stuff. If you do that to Cicero, he giggles and tells you it tickles.
Wow.
Oh, listener, that tickles.
My God.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I did not know he could be a companion, though. I would have done that. In the.
Well, I had to like convince you to even let him live. You wanted to kill him at the end.
I didn't know what to do at the end. That was my dilemma. I was like, I don't know. Maybe this guy is bad, but I don't know. But then it turned out that, yeah, I won't spoil anything. But Dark Brotherhood's a very, very good storyline. If you just play Skyrim for that, that's worth it for me. Yeah. So there you go. That is Cicero of the Cicero Chronicles of Skyrim. All right. We are going to keep going here, but first, it's time for our mid segment.
Okay. First, to start off, I want to apologize to the listener at home, as this segment is a bit visual. So if you look in the description, you will actually see either we'll put separate links to all the photos, or most likely we'll have a Google Drive, and then you can look at all the photos at home. I have each model has different shots, so there's like 2 or 3 pictures for each one, but so you can follow along at home. But let's get started. I made today's models using the website mechabricks.com. That's MECA bricks.com. And I asked our lovely contestants here today to, tell me a video game character that's at least somewhat recognizable. And I took that, and because of my own excitement for LEGO Star Wars, I decided to find a LEGO building online website like Mechabricks and use that to try my best with the assets that they had to recreate these characters as LEGO minifigures.
Okay.
And it is going to be up to my fellow show co-workers,
co-hosts,
yeah, to figure out what characters these are. So we're going to start off, and of course other rules apply to, like, if this is a character that you asked, you sent me, then try not to guess, I will try to keep that a secret. I don't want to say, like, oh, this was this person's guess, because then that might, lead you to believe, like, oh, this was Kelsey's guess, and maybe it's someone from Skyrim, because I know they like Skyrim. Things like that, Yeah. Even though that was not the case. I'm going to try, and I also included 3 of my own, so don't get too high and mighty. Now, I'm going to start off with what I think are the most recognizable ones, and we're going to go from there, trying to start easy and get a bit harder.
Okay.
So first, we have this individual. We're going to go in Discord order, and instead of it being like a Jeopardy buzz-in thing, it'll be each person will get a chance to try to guess. Sure. And if they can't, then they'll have to say pass. Okay. So I've included 3 photos here. I think the third one really helps where the visor is up. But Chris is the first in my order. Chris.
Well, since you said that last part, now I am now questioning my initial guess. I'm gonna say Samus then.
Ooh, sorry, that is incorrect.
Oh.
All right, next on my order is Kelsey.
Well, I was also going to guess Samus, but now I'm not. I'm going to say, based on heteronormative standards, that it's female, because eyeliner and mascara. And, I don't... Is the decals that are on it, is that supposed to be, like, reminiscent of the character, or is that just from...
I tried my best to find assets that would fit the best to this character.
Okay. I don't know any other... You said mostly recognizable characters? That was our girl...
Yes.
I'm just gonna pass for time's sake, because I have no idea.
Okay. All right. Now you guys get a little bit of a hint because I'm going to pass Anthony. And it goes to Gabe.
Damn it, Anthony.
Master Chief?
Yes, it is Master Chief.
That was gonna be my first guess.
That was gonna be the first
What?
guess, but then you said the visor up.
Yeah, why do you say the visor up? He never has his visor up.
It's a guy!
Master Chief's low-key kind of pretty.
Who the fuck is Master Chief?
I literally was gonna say Master Chief immediately.
The Halo.
I hate it. I hate it.
Right.
Mr. Halo.
The guy,
Halo person.
Mr. Halo himself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mr. Halo's low-key kind of pretty.
He has beautiful eyes. All right. Now I figured out how to send all the photos at once. This is going to be the next one because you know what? I'm in charge. So I'm going to pass on Anthony. So it'll be Anthony, and then Goobs will get the next guess.
Yes. Ha!
Okay.
Oh.
What?
I'm gonna wager all of my $1 million and say this is Kratos.
Why it is.
Woo!
Now this
Nice
one
job.
was a fun one. That if you take a close look, they actually had a few assets from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and
It said Zuko's face.
Zuko's face, yeah, to
Oh,
give him
that's
like
cool.
the scarf. That's why you see he has a ponytail on the back.
Clever.
Now let me see.
That was Gabe's pick.
No, Gabe will be going next. I was just trying. Oh no, Goobs will be going next. I just wanted to try to figure out which one I wanted to share next.
Why are we skipping Gabe?
Okay, here it is.
Gabe's next to Discord order though.
Yeah.
But Gabe got Master Chief, and I had to skip Anthony previously, so that's why I went back to him.
He's in charge. I should just let him be in charge.
I'm in charge. All right, go Cubs.
Ha.
What am I looking at?
Me when I've had too much Coke Zero.
Yes.
Okay, my first thought is Pac-Man, but Pac-Man doesn't have like a winder. I don't think.
Now I need you to remember, I'm working in a program where I might not have all of the beautiful pieces I may need.
No, I know.
Oh my god!
Just for time's sake, I'm going to guess Pac-Man.
Ooh, I'm sorry, that is incorrect.
Oh wait.
Chris,
Damn. Okay, never mind.
Chris, would
Go
you
on.
like to give a guess?
I have no fucking
I think
idea.
I know what it is now. Though.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving.
think I know
Give
what
me,
it is
give
now,
me a
though.
guess or a pass.
You can pass.
All right, we got to skip Kelsey. Anthony.
This is Mrs. Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I should have
I
thought.
was like, Matt!
I only
Yeah.
got that because you guessed Pac-Man. I was like, wait.
All right, next up, we are going to go back to Kelsey and then skip over Anthony because we're going back to Kelsey.
Hey.
Oh, Ratchet? Is it Ratchet?
Yes, it is! Oh,
Fantastic.
That's really
I'm
good.
so glad you recognized it. It must have been the ratchet in his hand.
Well, I almost said Crash Bandicoot, and then I was like, wait, no.
No, that's wait.
Different
wait,
mascot
no.
platformers.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Okay, so then after that is going to be Gabe. Let's go with.
I cannot follow the order that he's doing.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm
Just
just
trust
let him,
me, it's
let him do
fair.
it. Let him
Oh
do
god, I almost uploaded all 21 photos. Hold on.
No!
I love that these segments always end up in some kind of chaos.
All right, Gabe. Here's the photos.
Oh.
Captain Falcon.
Yes, it is Captain Falcon.
These are fantastic,
Well
Matt.
These are
Yeah.
really good.
Thank you.
You made Captain Falcon have killer curves, man.
Yeah, I took that from like the superhero. They have like different folders. There was actually a lot of assets. They had one folder that was like superheroes, and I think that was like Catwoman's body.
Huh.
But like he's kind of slim thick, so I wanted to give him that.
He has like a 6-pack, so that's kind of looks weird.
He
Yeah,
had the
yeah,
face
it
of
works.
Falcon, but the body of Catwoman.
He has like a 16-pack. Let's be real, actually.
Okay, this one was one of my favorites.
Okay.
Who's this one?
Matt,
guessing first?
This one goes to you.
Okay. Oh my god.
I know it.
I don't know
this
it.
this is Mewtwo, isn't it?
Yes, this
Yes!
is
Wow.
Okay. That's
Excellent.
the colors. I would have guessed
The
it with the
colors
colors.
of the tail are perfect. Except
Yeah.
I thought Mewtwo had like a thick rug of chest hair. I was confused, but it's fine.
No, there's
Oh my god, I
sparkles.
wish.
Yeah, I got that now. Who just said
Well-
Gabe?
Well done with the legs too. The legs really sold it too.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they had some weird assets. That was an asset from a Stranger Things Lego pack for the Demogorgon, and I was like, okay, but I'm making them pink.
Sure, yeah. Why not?
Okay, Chris, this next one goes to you.
Oh, fuck me. Okay.
We are past any co-host sent in properties.
Oh, all right. So
And
now
this is
real
the
fun.
second to last one, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Here you go.
Oh, my.
Oh.
Oh.
I told you they were going to get harder.
Oh my god.
That's a Muppet.
Oh, I'm terrible
Oh,
at this,
Squidward.
man.
That's
This,
Squidward's
I know
face.
this is probably so obvious, and I'm just looking at it. The outfit is what's getting me right now, is more than anything. It seems very
So
obvious.
can you describe for the audience what you're looking at?
Sure, it is what looks like Squidward's face on a man, and it has like the windy thing on top, and then he's wearing a sweater vest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck me. I don't know. I'm gonna pass. I can't believe it. I'm gonna pass though.
All right, Kelsey.
Is it the little girl from The Last of Us?
What?
No. Anthony?
Kelsey was just like, I'm choosing chaos. Going.
Anthony, give me a character or a pass.
I'm gonna pass.
All right, Gabe.
Angus from Night in the Woods.
Ooh, incorrect.
Oh,
that's
that's
such a good guess.
So good. That's such
That's
a good
so
guess.
good.
It's such
But
a
you
good
are
guess.
along the right track.
Oh, that's concerning.
Matt?
I'm glad that I'm not the only one that hasn't gotten it. At least.
Here. You know what? After everybody's given a guess or a pass, I will give a hint.
All right, I'm gonna pass. I think can it be free for all?
Sure. I don't think this gives it away. This character is not human, but they
Okay.
are bipedal.
Is it Bill?
I don't even know who Bill is.
Kelsey's laughing.
I pulled up Night in the Woods characters, and there's some guy named Bill. But I don't have any
Okay.
other context because I've
They're
never
not
played
from
the
Night
game.
in the Woods.
Okay.
They're not
They're
from
not
Night
from
in the
Night in the
Woods.
Woods.
This is a game that I think all of you have played.
Really?
Yes.
You're such a bitch, Matt.
If I could, I would make Squidward's eyes blue and not red. And I'd maybe lower his eyelids a little. Maybe no mouth.
Is it Sans?
I just liked his big
not
eyes
Sans.
for this.
What's Sans? No. Wait.
No.
The other one. Who's the little one?
Nope.
Okay.
Not that game.
Okay.
And
Is it-
the things on top of his head are ears.
Yeah, figure that out. Blue
Wheatley?
blue eyes.
No.
And I gave him shorter legs to kind of give him like a cuter kind of style because he kind of has like shorter, stubbier legs.
Is it an Animal Crossing character?
Yeah, you are completely lost
He
me.
usually sits behind a desk.
Tom Nook?
I wanted
Tom Nook!
to have the... Yes!
I said it
Oh
first!
my
I said
God.
it first, but it didn't come up! I said Tom Nook!
Oh my god.
Oh.
Alright, you know what?
Sorry.
You can both get a point.
Yeah, no, I'll give it to Kelsey. That's fine.
You both
Sometimes
get a point.
Discord audio is Discord audio sucks sometimes.
Okay, I see where you're going with this now.
Okay. You know what? I was debating which one was harder. The last one might have been harder with how you guys struggled with it, but we will see. This is the last one that I have.
You guys were a bunch of losers.
I don't even remember where we were. I think we start back at Chris.
Oh.
And I know this one.
This looks like Meta Knight.
Yeah, that's Meta Knight.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're feeding into my Kirby love right now. Right.
Yeah, thank you guys for playing my little Lego game.
This was
I hope
great.
You guys
Hell yeah.
enjoyed all my little Lego figures.
You did such a good job. Don't make the fact that we completely like went blank for the second to last one.
No, I
make you
feel like
bad.
it's like the Dollar General like plush version of Tom Nook, that it's like not a licensed Tom Nook,
Yeah.
but it's like just hanging out, and it's pretty much Tom Nook.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, it was funny because I did all of your guys' characters, and I started to try to think of characters that would be fun to do in Lego and would be harder to recognize. And I had done like Captain Falcon, and then I was like, let's try to go for less humanoid characters. And I did Tom Nook and Meta Knight, and those were just fun.
Yeah,
that works.
I think my
This
favorite
was one of my favorite mid-segs.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Let me know at home, guys, audience members, which Lego minifigure was your favorite.
Yeah. And with that, we're gonna go on to Matt's game next. But before we do that, let me give you a word from our sponsors.
No, don't take us away.
It has been 2 years since we started Team Chaos Productions, and we would not be where we are today without the help of Anchor. You've heard us talk about it all the time, but let me remind you, this completely free platform gives creators the tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast from your computer or phone. Once done, Anchor will distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more so you don't have to. You can also make some money on the episodes with no minimum listenership. It's everything you'd ever want in a podcasting platform, so download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Happy podcasting.
What makes Table Party different from other tabletop podcasts?
The music.
The setting.
The characters.
The gore.
A bunch of different games.
The refreshing coldness of ice cream.
The 300-foot-tall squid named Delilah.
The dice rolls.
The horrifying body horror.
The aroma.
The suffering of my players.
Dairy Queen blizzards.
The luxurious plush texture.
The free coupons.
Bad decisions.
And who can we expect?
I'm Kelsey.
I'm Matt.
I'm Gabe.
I'm Walsh.
I'm Chris.
Welcome to the Table Party.
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 And we are back.
Don't do that
It's okay. It's okay. The Anchor ad is over. And whatever second podcast I decide to put in for the ads is over. We're all good. It is time to go sailing to a kingdom and its many islands. It's because we're going to MySims Kingdom, and Matt is going to tell us all about it.
All right, so I've done MySims on the channel before. MySims Kingdom is the sequel game that released, I believe, the year after. And in my opinion, it is the best game in the series. One of my personal favorite games of all time, for a number of reasons. One is because it really I have a personal connection to it because it was the game that I played that eventually led to me meeting Chris. But in general, just a very fun game, very clever writing. And just a blast. So the focus of the game is you are set off on a quest to become as the king's wandelier. And you traveled to a bunch of different islands. All of them had their own different theme to them, and they all had something different that was going on that you had to like help solve their problems, grow as a wizard or whatever, and then that was pretty much it. The more people that you helped, the more islands you could visit, so on and so forth. The thing that reason why I'm talking about it today is because the writing in this game and the dialogue is fucking top notch. As an example, when you start the game, the tutorial is essentially the tryouts to become the Wandelier, and they introduce it. There's like the winner will be this grand wizard who will help us help rule the entire kingdom, and second place gets a toaster oven. And the one guy that's there with you is super fucking stoked about the toaster oven. And ends up winning it, so that's great. And the islands themselves are all also super inventive, and they all like are part of a different genre, a different thing. And I like that it kind of like sequences it so you like open up a few at a time. So I usually associate specific islands with each other because you unlock them pretty much at the same time. So the big ones, and I think the more important ones, I'm going to go through a few of them. There is Cowboy Junction, which is yeehaw, Western-styled desert island that you do a lot of fun stuff at. And there's a character there who's like this old prospector guy who ends up becoming a series staple. But he just like... There's a quest you do with him later in the game where you basically speak to him in dag flabbit terms the entire time. And you're not sure exactly what you're saying, but there's like correct and incorrect things to say to him.
I think
in terms of dag flabbit and contarnit.
I think I've needed like a guide for that.
Yeah,
before, because there is no you don't know for sure how to do it, but you're like, all right, we just try our best to.
No, but it's fantastic.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Amazing character. And then there's Rocket Reef, which is a science place where the crazy mad scientist is trying to send people off to space in a space mission. And before the liftoff happens, the mad scientist gives a speech about how we are gathered here today to remember the fallen, about the astronaut who hasn't blasted off yet. There's also Spookane, which is a horror themed island, which is very funny, and your goal is to help a character literally named Goth Boy figure out the meaning of life, because it was in a book. And so you travel across the island and you help people in the way, and you slowly learn that, hey, helping people is kind of cool, and that's how you can find life meaning. And then right before you get to the big spooky castle at the end, there's just a fucking cookie shop. And you gotta help the cookie shop go and like do some business and realize that you're not marketing well. And the sweet old cookie lady is like this ultra like business talk, like, oh, our analytics showed that this market was really underserved, like that kind of talk this entire time, this old grandma. And then you get to the end, and the big bad Morcubus just has been using it as like the book with the meaning of life. He's just been using it to sturdy a table. And then the book is blank. Yeah. And then that's Spookane. It's fantastic. And then one of the final islands, and I'm not going through all of them, but one of the final islands that you unlock is my personal favorite and also a personal hell of mine. It is titled Trevor Island. And there are 3 inhabitants, but the main one is a man named Trevor Verily, who is a William Shakespeare parody. Let me get an image of him. But you help him put on a play, and you build sets for him, and you build a lot of people. You build a lot of things. That's like the main thing you do in the game. But Mr. Trevor is like the most theater person that you can imagine. Imagine a blonde Shakespeare parody. and that is Mr. Trevor Verily. And there is a one part about Trevor Island where like you get to like be a part of the play. And there are also parts throughout the rest of the game where you herd animals one way or another. Sometimes they just follow you. Sometimes you have to chase them, and the AI is a little bit buggy. But you chase animals to kind of herd them into where they should go. And part of the play is you're supposed to chase Trevor. So it uses the herding mechanics as you are chasing this man. And the way that the island is laid out and the way that Trevor's AI works makes it one of the most frustratingly hilarious things that I've ever done in any video game.
Yeah, it's special. It's a special.
And you get to do it like while wearing like a dragon costume.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then, of course, I cannot end or talk about MySims Kingdom without talking about our Lord and Savior, Buddy.
Yes.
Who in the first MySims was a bellhop, in this game is a royal messenger, and just delivers one-liner after one-liner. He accompanies you all throughout the game. My personal favorite is in the loading screens when you're traveling from island to island. He and Lindsay, your other companion, are talking, and in fact, going to Trevor Island, she's like, "Oh, Trevor Island. I wonder what kind of island needs like has just named after one person." And Buddy goes, "Oh, I had my clarinet was named Trevor." And Lindsay goes, "Oh, Buddy, you played clarinet?" And Buddy says, "No."
It was just a game that was just filled with just like absurdist humor that it ended up just being just so it's so good on that front.
Mm-hmm.
MySims was an obsession of mine for many years. And MySims Kingdom is also, I would say, my favorite because I think it did the best of building on its ideas from this first game and implementing it in a way that was a fun adventure game that also included building things the way you want them to for the most part. Obviously, some things that were required need to be implemented, but ultimately it was a sandbox game that had a story to it, and I think that's what kind of made it so good. But yeah, the writing was really, really fantastic for this game. I do think that Trevor Island is up there. I think Spookanna is actually my favorite. I think that journey with Goth Boy, then you run into Yuki, and then you have Zombie Carl.
Oh, Zombie Carl! I forgot about Zombie Carl.
Show up, like it's just these weird characters. Which now that we say the names out loud, it just adds to the humor of this game. In that it is just a fun adventure that makes you that as you play you can't help but smile throughout it, and was to me like one of the reasons why I loved the Wii so much, because it was a console exclusive that most of the series was, and to me it made the best use of the Wii remotes in terms of being able to like decorate and things like that, and it really was what defined that era for me as a player and why I fell in love with the game so much. It kills me that the game's no longer around anymore. We don't have an equivalent to this as much, but I really am fond of this adventure specifically. I really hope we get to see some sort of recreation of this in the future. If there's any game that I could see get a remake from the MySims series, it would be this game, because I think it was it's that good of an adventure, and it's that fun, and it's that silly. It's great. We shall move forward then, and put Trevor back into his island.
Goodbye, Trevor.
See you.
Fuck off.
Bye, Trevor. And we will move on to a game that is all about golf, or should I say, its hatred of golf, because ultimately, What the Golf is an indie game developed by the development group Triband, I believe it's called, and it is and this is my game, by the way. Hi. And so I this was a game that I had on my radar, that I saw advertisements for, thought, I like golf games, let's try this one out. And it's true to its name. It is the antithesis of a golf game almost, where it's not like you are going through courses and trying to get the lowest score possible or anything like that. It is not set up like that at all. Instead, the game is built off of these short levels where you are presented with a scenario, and you have, in most scenarios, you are presented with a golf ball or with some sort of, other object, and your goal is just to get to the pin. That is the goal of almost every single level. Unless presented otherwise. Like, there are some levels where you play as an archer and you're trying to hit a target, or you are just trying to, there's like a few other segments that have like unique takes on how to finish a level. Like, there's somewhere instead of a pin, there is a soccer goal instead. And what I love so much about this game is that it is like this just level by level game that is meant to kind of surprise you and make you laugh at how absolutely like wild it gets throughout. It kind of starts out kind of tame. One of the early levels is that there's just a giant one in the ground, and you don't see anything that you are hitting until you actually hit it for the first time, and out comes like a hole in the ground. And then if you hit the hole enough, it goes into the one, and then the splash text at the end of the level says "hole in one." Get it? Because it's a hole in a one. It's funny. Thank you for laughing, guys. But that's the kind of humor that this is. It is meant to be a game that is meant to be a sequence of different levels. I was actually playing it right before the podcast, and Gabe said it best. It's kind of like a WarioWare game where it is not like micro games. It's not like super short games, but it is like you're playing in these very short segments, and you are just trying to complete them in as as quick a way as possible. And it's great. There's a lot of replayability to it because you could just do the normal level, but then they give you additional challenges where they want you to get it under par, or they want you to do it in a specific time, things like that. They just throw extra challenges at you in that same course, and I think that's kind of what adds to the game's replayability, what the gameplay overall. But the game is so funny, and it pulls from a lot of different games. It pulls reference from Super Mario, pulls from Portal. It pulls from Super Hot, which is that first person shooter game. They have a lot of different types of games that they pull from, and it is all meant to kind of be a parody of what a golf game is meant to be, and I think they just do such a good job at it. And it is just a really, really good time if you want a game that is just a time waster. It's on Apple Arcade, that's where it originated, but then it eventually came to Steam, and I think since then I think it's on Switch now. I think it's on like a few other different consoles. So it's kind of broadened its horizons, and I think because of the success of the game, they've had to like not work on their next game, which is supposed to be a game called Keyboard Sports, where you use the entire keyboard to control the game. They've just not been working on that, or maybe they are, but they've had to slow it because so many people loved What the Golf. And it's one of my favorite games I've played, and just one that is super fun, not really challenging. Even if there is some challenging moments, you end up just keep on going, doing it over and over, and then you kind of get through it. And the game, it's just a game that you're meant to kind of sit back, enjoy, have a laugh, and be kind of surprised by what it shows off. Yeah, really, just a really, really good time. Anyone have thoughts on What the Golf?
I think that the art style is really cool. Like,
Yeah.
I think that it's really unique for me anyway, but I also don't get around much as far as games are concerned, so it might not be. But just, I think that it's interesting that you call it like this antithesis golf game too, because I had no idea. I mean, I don't have any context for the game really, but it just all in all sounds like a really appropriate choice for this pod, and looks like it actually intrigues me, like somebody that doesn't really ever play. I mean, we played hot shot golf as kids, but like that's
Right.
the extent. Or I played a little bit of the more recent Mario Golf thing that came out, but it's not my vibe. But your contribution about this makes me intrigued.
Yeah, it is like it's just it's so again it embraces a weirdness that I enjoy. Like just like, hey, this is not going to be a normal game necessarily. We're just going to have, we want you to have as much fun with it as possible. I just shared basically one of the very, very early on levels where you are attempting to putt the ball, and actually never mind, it does not continue, I guess, in this game.
Putt it already.
Yeah, but essentially what happens is that when you go to hit the ball, instead of the ball moving, the human ragdolls forward, and then you have to hit the human over and over again to get to the pole, which is just it is just a level of utter ridiculousness that, again, like I very much appreciate.
But even here, like, I know this isn't the point. Like, the point is that you're talking about the humor, but I am very much into this, like, almost monochromatic aesthetic that's going on here, and the textures and how simple the whole thing is, but still gives you the full picture. It's, like, I'm very much enjoying it. It's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I definitely think that I would recommend it to anyone who just wants a time waster. Like, it's one of those that you just walk away and you're like, that was a good time. That was silly. That was ridiculous, and it's fun. And I think what I especially love is this is what makes the indie space so good. Is just you can make games like this and just be weird, and you're gonna find an audience for it, and they absolutely did. One of the things too, and we can move on after this, but since I played the game, there have been a lot of DLC, so they've had more adventure type. There's like the main campaign, and then there's other campaigns that they've added that are specifically themed. Like there was like a sports campaign where the entire thing is all just sports levels. There's like a snow campaign where you did all snow levels. And then there is daily courses. So you end up replaying some of the same courses that you played in the campaign. But if you just want to return to it and you don't want to go through the campaign, it's an option for you just to go in and just go through some of the courses that you've gone through in the past and just kind of re-get into that gameplay. And I did that for a while after I beat the game, because I really, really fell in love with just being able just to hit that damn golf ball or whatever they want me to hit in the game. You know what I mean? So it's good. It's just a really, really wonderful time. And so I shout out to Tribe. They kicked ass. All right. And there you go. We have one more game to talk about, and it is none other than Mr. Walsh himself, who is going to be talking about the latest entry in Lego Star Wars. What?
No.
Why? What do you mean no? You said Skywalker Saga.
No. I'm doing Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga.
Oh, you said Skywalker Saga, so that's why I wrote down.
I never... Oh, yeah, I probably should have noticed that.
Yeah, there you go on 418.
Oh, yeah, I did write the Skywalker Saga because
that's why I thought. So you're talking about the Complete Saga, not the newest one, but that's fine. Whatever. It is relevant because the newest one came out, but you're talking about the initial 3 games that came out, or 3 stories that came out. So go ahead, hit it, talk about it.
Listen, I'm gonna be completely honest. When I said I wanted to talk about Lego Star Wars, I actually had no idea that the new game was coming out this month. Let alone that it would be already out by the time we were talking about it, because
Yeah.
I was supposed to talk about this for a Gaming Coop previously, and then I unfortunately was not able to make it, but I'm here now. And I've been wanting to talk about Lego Star Wars for a while. Can we talk about Lego Star Wars? I've been dying to talk about Lego Star Wars.
Here you go. You got the platform.
I think because now I have to talk about it within the context of we have a new Lego Star Wars game out, and there was a lot of hesitation that I was worried about is what is it going to do, because so many Lego games for a while relied very much on physical humor, visual humor, because of the fact that they were not using voice acting. And the voice acting that they were using wasn't really voice acting, it was grunts and groans and different just sounds. They weren't dialogue. When Darth Vader goes to say, and spoilers, "No, I am your father," he doesn't say that. He pulls out a fucking photograph and is like, and then points to Luke, like, and Luke's like, and you can't help but just get pulled in to how silly it is. Of course, the music pulls you in because the music from Star Wars is so good, and there is this immediate tension of like, oh, things are dangerous. But then that tension is cut so easily by just the Lego humor. I think that the moment that I fell in love with it was right out the get-go with the episode 1, chapter 1 introduction cutscene that I shared with you guys, where, they're flying into the enemy base and they, lead out of the ship. And the link that I did send actually cuts to the exact timestamp. And, the Jedi exit to go negotiate, and then the cannons aim at the ship with the pilots still in there. And it blows up the ship. And then the two pilots just look at each other like, uh-oh, still floating in the air, and then fall, and then just fall into Lego pieces. And it's not just that they copy this kind of humor, not copy, but it's not just that they utilize this kind of humor just in cutscenes as well. It's sprinkled all throughout the game, whether it be you are going through levels and all of a sudden there is a puzzle on the floor that because there's puzzles all over the place, and you activate the puzzle, and now all of a sudden, instead of getting money or some doors unlocked, something like that, all of a sudden a dance party starts, and the lights are going around, and all the little side characters start running out to the dance floor and dancing around, or you find another little secret on the Death Star when you are disguised as stormtroopers, and you find yourself in a back room where there's just a whole bunch of stormtroopers, all still with their helmets on and bathing suits sitting in a hot tub. And it's through this kind of visual humor and a bit just absurdist humor that would exist in a very serious setting that just takes it takes away a lot more of like the tension of like, oh my god, that Lego character just died. But it's funny because the mustache that was on his face when he got blown away still stayed in the air and fell where he was. And it creates this very cartoonish atmosphere that makes it so funny. And because they didn't have that dialogue, it makes them lean so much more on that visual humor, that visual storytelling, and just all of the grunts and the voice acting is funny. And not just in the cutscenes too. I can't tell you how much I love the
the Yoda scream, yeah.
Like all of the ridiculous death sounds that they have sprinkled in. And it creates this field of nostalgia and love for a game that is, of course, just trying to market off of a specific property. And it's funny because I wanted to talk about this before the new game was coming out. And I was worried because I knew that once they started using voice acting, which I think they did in like Lego Batman 2, which I guess felt strange to me, but they still utilized a lot of visual humor, but they tried to do a lot more humor through dialogue. And I think that you start to lose some of that humor. And I fell off of Lego games for a bit because they started to try to do The Hobbit, Harry Potter, Lego Dimensions, which I wasn't too big into. I fell off of superhero movies, so I wasn't big into the Marvel ones. But the fact that now that they are coming back out with the next Lego Star Wars game with all of the new movies, it makes me wonder. It made me very worried. Are they going to continue that very childlike, simple humor that isn't just haha, pee pee poo poo haha? It's actually like it's a kind of cartoon humor that kids and adults can sit down and enjoy. And from the clips that I have seen, it seems so, but I might talk about that, or someone might talk about that in a future Gaming Coop. But for right now, I just wanted to give a little bit of spotlight on the complete saga and just give it a little kiss on the forehead.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's quite a few people here who have played this game, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Hit me with it. What was your guys' experience with it?
This was probably among my most played games on the PS2. Not the complete series, no. Can't just say Among Us, but one of my most played games on the PS2. Not the complete saga because it wasn't on PS2, but Lego Star Wars 1 and 2 combined. And this was actually I am a huge Star Wars fan, and this was my biggest introduction to the series and window into the series was through Lego Star Wars, and I just thought it was really accessible, and I knew a lot more about how Star Wars worked because of these games, and they're just a blast. I love them so much.
Isn't it crazy how much you were able to understand about the Star Wars universe and the rules of it?
Yep.
And yet they don't say a single fucking word?
What's also great is watching these and then watching the movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, that happened in the game, and then going back to the game and be I replayed the complete series or the complete saga 1 or 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, I remember that from the movie after I had binged all the Star Wars movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent attention to detail.
Yeah, it's really it is really interesting, hearing people talk about it now, especially with the lens of Skywalker Saga coming out, and that kind of being the it seems like they've kind of included it sounded like they've remade all 9 episodes, including the initial saga that was that came out many years ago. And I don't know in terms of how much they changed in terms of the humor or the voice acting or anything like that. This is not a game that I've touched at all, might not ever, but it does seem like it's one of those games that you look back on and you remember hearing the stories from other kids about how much this game was amazing and how much fun and immersive it was, even though it was such a cartoony way of introducing to a series that does in general take itself rather seriously. In general, it's fun to have this different take on it that is such an accessible way of looking at it, is a unique stepping stone for people, because I keep on hearing from people that's oh, you need to have an understanding of the movies before you jump into this game. And it's weird because I feel like I've heard from you, Walsh, and I think you too, Matt, where it's no, this was my introduction into Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is how I got into Star Wars. And so it's I don't know, I feel like as someone who appreciates worlds that are funny, that don't take themselves very seriously, that are, I feel like this would be a good stepping point to go into, maybe by getting into Skywalker Saga, whatever the fuck it's called, the new one, and maybe doing cooperative play with someone on that, and and then getting into the story that way, even though I know if once I watch the films are gonna be a lot more serious overall. But yeah, it's just I think that's the thing that I appreciate most, is that you can tell the love that these developers, that these people who work behind the scenes on this game, you can tell how much they love the property of Star Wars, and they want to do everything in the power to both make a fun, hilarious experience, but also be able to tell the story of what Star Wars is. I think that's just, it's nice. It's really nice to have people like that have a developer behind something like that, and we could look at it cynically and be like, it's it's a corporation milking the fucking Star Wars brand to the bone, but it's also like you get stuff like this that's like really wholesome fun.
I really enjoy. I'm enjoying Skywalker Saga a lot. It is more dependent on dialogue, but it's amazing how open it is and how much fucking shit there is to do, which I'm very excited to like explore more.
Yeah,
I have not checked it out yet. I will be checking it out, but I did also want to give a shout out to just how much fun the couch co-op was, and I honestly still is.
My brother and I, when we were kids, we would just fucking kill each other all the time. We never made any progress.
Yeah, is it like I know it's like an action, adventure type thing. Is it just like, are the battle sequences, are they just like kind of like you get like these waves of enemies and then you just knock through them, or is it more just the deeper you go in, you just interact enemies along the way? Like how is that whole thing work? Just out of curiosity.
Sometimes it's a little bit of one, a little bit of other. Sometimes you enter a room and there's a puzzle to solve. Sometimes you enter a room and there's some enemies. Sometimes you enter a room and all of a sudden there's a few hearts at the top of the screen and you have to fight a boss battle. I mean, a lot of them.
Sometimes there are vehicle segments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you are flying a ship and you gotta blow up a Death Star, and other times you are, just running around shooting your blaster and just trying to make it to the end of the level and getting as much money as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I definitely appreciate it for what it is, and I might try it one day. We'll see, but yeah, if that is that everything that people want to say about Lego Star Wars, the complete saga? It's done. There is no other games after that.
There will be no other movies.
Stop making Skywalker movies. Just stop it. Episode 9 sucked. End it. It's over. We're done. New story, new characters.
Just take it. Just taking a bat to it and just fucking beating the living shit out of the new movies.
Matt, are you telling me you didn't like the episode 9?
Don't get me started.
Don't get me started.
I want this podcast to end on a positive note.
It's a positive space.
Well, that's ladies and gentlemen. That is the funny games. For next month, you guys want to do music again?
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
You want to do soundtracks? Unless someone has another brighter idea that they're interested in, and I'm all ears. But I feel like that's something I'm kind of itching to debut another hit album from a game that I love or something. I don't know. We'll see.
We can always do games based on intellectual properties too. But we can say that for now.
We have done that recently.
We did do that recently.
I'm sorry.
That's what you were originally going to do Lego Star Wars for, right?
Yep. Yeah. I was like, I feel like we haven't done that yet. That's why. Sorry, it might be.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I figured the music one is the one that like is an easy one to kind of return to. But again, if there's anything that changes, we'll let you know on our Twitter account at the Gaming Coop. And again, if you want to participate in the conversation, add us at the Gaming Coop or use the hashtag the Gaming Coop, and we'll be there to see your response. Hopefully. And with that, thank you all so much for listening. Game on. The Gaming Coop is brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Follow us on Twitter at The Gaming Coop or follow our other work at Team Chaos Pods.